Thank you very much, Chair, and thanks for inviting me to this panel, and thanks to the organizers for preparing this conference. I will be speaking about I will try to speak about Russia's perspective on the Indo-Pacific. Drun was absolutely right, mentioning that there is no official usage of the concept, and moreover, the concept itself is reduced to the one which is usually voiced by the United States and its allies. So the official counter-reaction of Russia to the idea of the Indo-Pacific is obvious not to use it in the official discourse. But let me speak about 3 points which I want to share with you. The first one will be about the tyranny and logic of geography in Russia's foreign policy. I just want to explain an idea that Indo-Pacific is not the only direction of Russia's attention, and Russia is actually too big to reduce its geostrategic outlook to just Indo-Pacific. But since the conference is about the Indo-Pacific, let's then contemplate about Russia's Asian policy and the role of this area in its turn to the East. And point number 3 will be about Russia's perceptions of the Indo-Pacific idea. I would say in theory and in practice, again, because, of course, the academic community has been debating this concept for many, many years and looked at it from multiple angles. But the practice of the foreign policy making, of course, will have its own nuances and differences. So the logic of geography. Apologies for reminding you again that Russia is the biggest country in the world in terms of geographical constellation, but also the figures before 2022 showed that it was number 6 in the group of upper middle income economies, number 9 in the group of countries with the biggest population, and number 11 among countries with the largest domestic product. 2022 was an important point because totally different processes started to develop in the Russian economy, which reinvigorated it in some sense. But that's not the topic of my talk today. I just want to emphasize that the whole economic system has been going through very profound shifts recently. One more important thing, which relates to geography, it's that Russia is the biggest westernized non-Western country with several centuries old tradition of aspirations to become an integral part of Europe. And these aspirations are seemingly came to an end after massive sanctions were imposed on Russia after the after conflict in Ukraine entered its very hot phase in February 2022. So what's about Asian policy? Logically, when sanctions started to being imposed, Russia turned to Asia in more real meaning of this term, not just discursively, as it was the case before 2022, and started to look to the partners beyond Europe and beyond the so-called collective West. Since this panel has been debating the role of China and Russia in the Pacific, of course, we should mention here that China quite naturally became the primary object of reinvigoration of Russia's turn to the East. And of course, Gudrun is absolutely right that these relations have not come just, out of the blue. They were developing for quite a while. Of course, there are different points of view which are proposed in the academic literature, in the policy making, both in Russia and in the foreign countries, that this is a marriage of convenience, this is not a lasting relationship. But let me say one thing, that of course, there should be limits. Of course, there should be some difficult issues, because both Russia and China are big countries, and they have important interests all over the world, with China going global recently. And naturally, there might be disagreements. But at the same time, there are structural elements which unite both countries, and the previous speakers, I think, have highlighted quite a number of these important structural things which unite them. Next, I would say India is an important partner, but of course, we also should make the same comment to India as we made to China, that India is a big pan-Asian country, minimum, maybe a country with the future of strong global player. And of course, it has its own set of interests, depending on its geographical outlook, geostrategic and geoeconomic outlook. And number three, I would say ASEAN in Asia, but of course, we should also mention here just integration project. Quite recently, the development that some ideas which Russia and China have been elaborating, and Russia, China, and India have been elaborating for a while. I mean, the trilateral cooperation between within the framework of Russia, China, India have attracted more interested countries, and hence the BRICS outreach process started to develop quite quickly. But again, it's not the main focus of my talk today. So what about Russia's perception of the Indo-Pacific in theory and in practice? I should tell you that, of course, the academia have been debating this counterposition, physical versus functional geography, for quite a while. And of course, there were studies and research focused on the economic and strategic linkages emerging in what some of my colleagues and me called Greater Eastern Asia. We meant that actually there are serious regional transformations in the making, which lead to macro-regionalization. But in the 2010s, we focused mainly on the growing economic interdependence between India and East and Southeast Asia. So if the developments in the international relations were going into more constructive direction, we would have seen Indo-Pacific forming based on the geoeconomic foundations rather than on the geopolitical. But unfortunately, after 2017, when the United States have officially taken the Indo-Pacific idea into its strategic documents, this macro-regionalization went along the geopolitical lines. So what worries Russia about the Indo-Pacific? I'm sure that some of the audience members are well aware of them, but still I will make some bullet points. Number one is Asiatization of NATO, so to say, multilateralization of American alliances in the region, intelligence sharing, and everything which makes these alliances more interconnected, emergence of minilaterals like Quad, and more importantly AUKUS, which some of my senior colleagues view as CENTO 2.0, possible erosion of Indian neutralism, question mark here, the anti-Chinese and anti-Russian developments of this macro-regionalization, the rising risks of strategic and non-strategic miscalculations, because the more we look at the region in the geopolitical context, the more the militarization is going on in the region, the higher the risks of miscalculations. Questions about the future of nuclear nuclear-free zone in Southeast Asia, but my colleague Piotr, I think, would be speaking in more details about that. And actually, the question about where is Asia in all this Indo-Pacific framework, because we see increasing role of non-Asian players in all this constellation. I think that I have exhausted my time, so thank you, Chair, for providing the opportunity to speak, and I will probably stop here.